Let's start now looking at the Pro material. So if we select another sample area and click here on the Arch and Design material type, you can see that there's quite a list of different Pro materials. Something which closely resembles the Arch and Design material is the generic Pro material. It's the mostly fully featured Pro material available, gives you the most number of options, but is less specific. So right at the top, the color. So let's change that to more of an aqua. Reflection. Next two parameters here, we'll just set those down to 0. So we have no reflection or a matte surface. And some of the things that we've changed in the Arch and Design are a little bit more obvious here. They have specific rollouts all of their own. Ambient occlusion. We just go down to that rollout, turn it on. We can set its max distance. Again, something a little bit higher. Let's try something more like 20 centimeters this time. Rounded corners. And again, fillet radius. So let's assign that again to the box. So we'll click on the box and assign that. And go ahead and re-render. So everything we just did with the Arch and Design material, we did now with the Pro material, but in a much more clean and obvious interface. Now as we go back to the material editor and choose the various Pro materials that we have available, let's choose something like ceramic tile for the floor. Click on OK. You'll notice here that our interface in the material editor changes dramatically. Special effects should include ambient occlusion and rounded corners, but we have a whole bunch of different parameters here in the ceramic material parameters rollout. So before we go ahead and do anything, let's go ahead and name this ceramic tile. You can see in this type parameter there's a couple of different types of tiles. We'll stick to ceramic. So we can choose a color, a uniform color if we desire, or as what's more typically the case, we'll probably want to add a map, a bitmap to the floor. So we'll select bitmap. Now 3ds Max keeps its bitmaps in the program files directory. So you need to navigate to your program files, to Autodesk 3ds Max 2009, and you need to find the maps folder for all the standard bitmaps that ship with the product. So let's go in here to the Arch material, bitmaps, and you'll see that there's a wealth of bitmaps contained in this folder. I'm looking for a particular one, tile pattern, so I'm going to list this by details and scroll down until I find here finishes flooring tile. And I'm going to use these two, this diamond red pattern. And you can see here, this is what it looks like. The other image here is actually a companion bump map, which we'll get to in a second. So I'll select this as the pattern that I wish to place on the floor instead of a uniform color. So that now goes into the bitmap channel, and you can see our rollout's completely different, so we have to navigate up to get back to the main parameters of our ceramic tile. The finish, we can play around with that a little bit. Let's set it to satin for now. For surface bumps, one of two places where we can specify a bump map. The way this has been designed is so that you have actually control over the bump in the area where the tile is located, and you also have a bump map that will indent the groove pattern. You can actually use either one or both and control the amounts with these amount values. So let's try a simpler case here. Just set tiling pattern to custom and go get our bitmap of our tiles. That one there. So once you bring in a couple of bitmaps like this, one of the things that you'll need to worry about now is actually the sizing of your bitmaps. So we're at the bitmap level here of our bump map. And I'd like you to look here in the coordinates area. It says use real world scale, and the size is set to 2.5 centimeters, or approximately an inch. Now if you look at the image, assuming that we want these tiles to be approximately 6 inches, the entire image is approximately 24 inches in both directions. So we would choose to enter, if we were working in inches, we could enter 24 inches right here, or in metric, we would enter something like 60 centimeters. So that is the real world scale of this image. So let's go back now, and we have to repeat what we just did at the bump map, also here up top in our diffuse map. These are not interconnected really at all. Again, use real world scale. Let's click on that floor plane object, and generally by default you'll see here generate mapping coordinates are set on. This is a plane object and it's set to real world map size, so it's going to use these sizes. So let's click on the floor and assign that material to it. One thing that helps a lot is to also visualize that map in the viewport. So we'll just click here on the show map in viewport. So we can actually see the diffuse pattern on the floor. Let's go ahead and re-render. So you can see now how that material has been applied and rendered onto the surface.